2 Fort has been around since the dawn of time. This little old map has quite literally become the face of TF2. Even players who have never even touched the game are aware of its popularity. 2 Fort is simple. Two teams spawn, they meet at the bridge, and then they fight to the death. Or some community party happens right in the middle. This usually starts with the heavy pulling out their sandwich and proceeding to crouch walk out of spawn and befriending the entire enemy team. Some players start taunting, causing a large chain of congas, Kazatsky kicks, and questionable chats I can't show on YouTube. But even through the years, it's quite astonishing how this map has stayed alive throughout TF2's entire lifespan. TF2 saw a surge in popularity with a peak player count of 250,000 players. Compared to other games like CSGO and Dota and the like, these are rookie numbers to the constant flow of hundreds of thousands of players that play every day across the world. Even still, 2 Fort has managed to maintain its loyal and loving community, spawning thousands of memes and friendships over the game's life. 2 Fort is simple. You have two spawns. One immediately leads you to the entrance of the intelligence, and the other spawn leads you to the first floor of your team's fort or the battlements. And from there you could either go flank, mid, or a longer route to the intelligence. Mid is even simpler, with a narrow bridge, a large front yard, and a square pit of water, which leads you to either team's sewer. This can lead to crazy spy flanks where they could wipe out an entire enemy team if not properly checked. The bridge's roof is mostly accessible to around 6 of the 9 classes, allowing them to have a closer fight with the enemy's battlements. Although the route is only accessible with a hard jump, it's still possible, just quite difficult. This makes it a bit harder for snipers on battlements to apply pressure, but I mean, you shouldn't have let them get there in the first place. I mean, there is no cover. The intelligence area is a bit more complex. It has a spawn where players can access with ease, so they don't have to walk a long winding route to get to their original spawn so that they could resupply their metals and materials. This is home to most of the newer engineer players who just turtle and occasionally wait for the rare occurrence of a player who tries to capture the intelligence. The battlements are simple. They're open for the most part. Around 60 to 80% of the battlements are open, with the occasional metal sheet covering you so that you could isolate certain sniper fights. Although open, you gotta watch out for soldiers that make it past your line of sight, cause you could be part of that soldier's strange rocket launcher statistic. The team's fort is a bit complex. It's quite easy to lose a player when you're being chased, and also find help when you need it. It's somewhat of a maze which could be confusing to newer players, which is basically like 80% of 2 Fort's player base, and the other 20% being veterans who just want to chill and make friends or have fun in a nostalgic map. In my previous video where I talked about Hightower, I mentioned that players love Hightower. Like, they love their highlights. Things you can put into a TF2 montage video are always welcome if it means they could feel euphoric when they do it. That still somewhat applies here, because as I played this map more, I realized one thing. The skybox isn't that bad. Like, seriously, you can make some high-ass and long-ass jumps on this tiny-ass map, and it's surprising because there aren't that many applicable movement spots for the more movement-heavy classes like Soldier or Demoman. I think one thing that TF2 players synonymously love is that this game has movement. I mean, there are literally communities worth of movement players that come from other games just because this game's movement is just so crisp. Like, if you compare jump maps to 2 Fort, these look like entirely different universes and different games. It's unfair to compare a map solely made for soldier jumps with a map that's as old as the game itself, but I mean, it's an arena movement shooter. My point is that despite the large difference in gameplay, both these maps are still gorgeously fun to play on. Let's talk about the community. The community of 2 Fort is the biggest reason as to why this map has stayed alive for so long. TF2 players love their action. In the aforementioned paragraph, I mentioned TF2 players love their highlights. This map is not short of highlights whatsoever. Unlike in Hightower, once you spawn, there's a slight downtime for when players need to meet in the middle and possibly move the carts to their towers. And in this map, there's none of that. This map is completely different. You walk out of spawn and see...
You are dead! Not big surprise!
2Fort's community reigns superior as one of the most stable communities in Team Fortress 2's history. Dare I even say arena movement shooter history.
1, 2...
A lot of familiar jokes and unspoken rules have graced 2Fort's waters, and the different kinds of players that flock to this tiny rectangular map in the middle of nowhere, the diversity of these players can get quite intricate. Friendly heavies, lazy engineers, tryhards, snipers, veterans, and even pyro sharks. Video coming out soon. Can be seen running through the wooden floors, murky sewers, and smooth painted concrete floors of 2Fort. Remember 2Fort? The one with like 900 O's? Yeah, people still play on these maps too. Memes don't die on this map. Although the map doesn't offer a lot, especially once you've tested the waters on other maps, it's still a premium TF2 classic, which each TF2 player loves to experience. This entire map and its community is basically the soul of the game, a united community that comes together to play the game they love. Just like in Hightower, there are 2Fort maps that have capturing disabled. TF2's biggest strength is its nostalgia factor. We honestly owe it all to the community, and for some reason we kinda have to owe it to Valve's ignorance towards the game as to reasons why it's still here. The community breathes life into this game's lungs, and this game hasn't changed one bit. I could show you a clip of a TF2 video from years ago, and the only way you'd ever guess its age would be the items that exist and possibly the top bar of players, but aside from that, TF2 has remained the same all throughout the years. The reason as to why I think this map works so well is because it's a map that still provides everything despite the size. Other maps that are bigger somehow feel smaller to play on, like Turbine, Steel, Fastlane, and so much more. They feel so limited on what you could possibly do next, but for some reason, 2Fort doesn't. TF2's gorgeous gameplay has set the tone for games that have developed through the years. Its unique and supplementary factors, which change the tides of how a map is played, confuse and lead other game developers into wondering how they've done it. How they've achieved such a tightly united community on a fucking map. I'd be lying if I said I don't enjoy 2Fort. I've played this game for almost 10 years, online and offline. I'm in love with this game. I'm in love with all its flaws, its intricacies, its possibilities, and candies. This map has shaped the talents of each player and the community they are ever so proud of to be a part of. And hey, so am I.